Hey, first of all, fam, if you are in New York between August 23rd and September 18th only, you can go check out an amazing new play presented by the Ma Yi Theater Company called Once Upon a Korean Time. It's by Daniel K. Isaac, and it is mixing traditional Korean fables with the horrors of the Korean War. So it gets really deep, but it's funny and deeply moving. It's an analog for the experiences of the Korean American diaspora. He moves through his characters through time and traces the legacies of trauma that's passed down from one generation to the next and the various coping mechanisms that each one uses to soldier on. Something that I've definitely dived into in First of All and can deeply relate to. So I hope you guys will go check that out. The show features sea kings, bubbles, tigers, generational trauma, and barbecue. Definitely an interesting mix. And it's the professional playwriting debut for Daniel K. Isaac, who's a writer for The Billions, The Chinese Lady. It's at La Mama's Ellen Stewart Theater in New York City. It's a very limited engagement. Again, August 23rd through September 18th only. And tickets are now available by visiting ma-yitheater.org. I'm going to spell it out for you because theater is spelled a little differently and there's a hyphen. So it's ma-yitheatre.org. Go check it out. Enjoy the show. Dive into a different world. Feel all the feels and have a great time. And then let me know what you think about it.
You're listening to Whoa! Potluck.
Hey guys, welcome back to First of All, a real unfiltered conversation on career, family, relationships, and culture. I'm your host, Minji Chang. I'm an actor, producer, and filmmaker here to share inspiring stories and to walk through everyday life with you. Hope you're doing well, staying happy, joyful, healthy, all of the good things. And hope that your day is going great. If anybody's watching TikTok and got sucked into the Bama Rush thing, I know Alyssa, if you're listening to this, she knows. I hope you're having a great day, not just a good day. I don't even know her name. I think it's like Kaylin or something, but there's this little blonde cherub from Alabama from the sorority world that just became a thing for a moment, and I can't get it out of my head when I'm saying, like, have a good day. I'm like, have a great day, not just a good day. If you know, you know. If you don't, hi. Welcome to the podcast. This week's episode was massively therapeutic for me to just hash things out with the lovely spirit that is our guest, the lovely Dia Frampton, who is a half Korean singer-songwriter, actor, and screenwriter from Utah. Known Dia for years. We have seen each other through many creative endeavors and relationships. And in this week's episode, I was like, I forget where I bumped into her. It was like when we're reacclimating to the post-COVID socializing life. And I was like, how's everything been going? And we just kind of exchanged a look or something. And I remember it spoke volumes, and recognizing the pain that is entering or re-entering or taking a, hiatus from the dating scene. And I was like, okay, let's talk about it. So we are here this week to talk about red flags in dating, amongst other things. And hopefully for any of us out there who are dealing with the same insanity and trying to read through all of the different cues or not read them and then deal with the aftermath of having not read them, whatever it may be, we're here for you. Dia and I have very different backgrounds in this space. So you guys will get to hear all of that. And there's some highly entertaining stories. I'm just excited for you guys to tune in and hopefully provide some therapy and entertainment for all of you out there listening. And for everybody, always, the dating episodes, I think it's so funny because it's educational for people who are booed up and in stable, committed relationships and have no idea of the dumpster fire that is dating in, modern day in 2022 or 2021 or during COVID or in just the last 5 years where the culture's changed a bit. So yeah, it's fun to know that we are giving you the inside look, a portal, if you will, into this universe. Happy to be here and share our stories with you. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this episode, learn a thing or two, laugh, cry, whatever you need to do to let it all out. we're here for you. Dia, got to check out her music. She's a very talented musician. Her and her sister have a band, have a group, and we'll definitely link everything in the bio, so check it out. But without further ado, here is Red Flags in Dating with Dia Frampton. Enjoy.
Yeah. Came in 88 with a dream, oh so bright-eyed. They knew right away, sink or swim, there's no lifelines. Cutting their teeth on the move.
Hi, Dia. Welcome back to First of All.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
How are you? The last time we recorded, it was years ago, and it was at your apartment on a hot day. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. And once again, it is a hot day, so we're just keeping with the, tradition.
Seriously. I actually spoke to somebody this morning at a meeting with an awesome director from Hong Kong. And she was like, I was telling her I was like, oh, I know everyone likes LA because of the weather and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I want to say, I don't like the weather. The sameness, it just drives me crazy.
That's what somebody else said. They said that time flies here because there's no seasons.
Yeah. There's no urgency. A year has gone by. You're like,
Very
same.
True.
Same. How have you been through this lovely last 2.5 years that we've had?
Oh, man. I mean, I have just been trying to stay in it. Of course, I mean, we were just talking a little bit beforehand, but I started writing screenplays
Yes.
just because I was sitting inside and, as an actor, we didn't have any auditions for a very long time and everything stopped. So I just started writing screenplays. I wrote a couple feature films and, of course, picked up bread baking and started learning how to play piano. I wanted to learn how to read piano sheet music because I can't read sheet music. And it's kind of funny because people just assume that I can.
Yeah.
I just kind of mess around on the piano, but I said to myself, I'm going to learn how to read sheet music. And then, of course, I have never been on dating apps before. And COVID pushed me on to the apps.
Oh, my God.
It was not good.
And the verdict is?
I actually, it's interesting because I have been on and off Raya, which is kind of like the elite kind of douchey one.
Okay, I have not been on Raya, so I hope you enlighten me at some point. But yeah, okay.
It's the app where you kind of have to know somebody or have a certain amount of Instagram followers. It's a little bit it's not nice. It's not, you have to know somebody to get on or whatever, but
there's an application and approval process.
Exactly. So I was on there for a little while, and then I've been on and off Hinge and on and off Bumble. And it was funny because I got back on Hinge a couple weeks ago, and then I just thought, I can't do this. It's just too much stress. And so I deleted Hinge. And then the day that I deleted Hinge, and I was like, I'm just going to meet people in real life, my neighbor asked me on a date.
Oh my God. That's
right?
the cutest.
It was really cute.
That's some beautiful synchronicity, law of attraction, beauty, meet cute right there.
Yeah. But you know what, Minji? I was not ready for, that people say it's really hard to ask somebody out in person now in 2022.
Yeah.
Nobody ever says that it's really hard to be asked out in person in 2022 because it caught me so off guard because nobody does that. And so when he said, he's my neighbor that I always kind of see. I go on walks in the back alley behind my apartment.
Okay.
It's my backyard.
That sounds safe.
Right?
Okay.
Because I don't have a yard. So I just walk back and forth in this kind of alleyway full of trash and cars. And
okay.
And my neighbor walks his dog, and we always kind of just say hi. And, over the months, it's always like, oh, hey, did you get a haircut this week? And he says, yeah. Or oh, do you want some avocados? And I said, yeah. And then he just said, hey, Dia, are you single? Would you want to go out on a date? And I literally turned into, you would think that I was asking him out. I was just like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm like kind of single, but like, like dating apps are kind of crazy and it's been tough. And are you single? Like what? It was bad.
No, he's not at all. Because he's asking how to date. He's not single at all. Oh my God, how cute.
Bad. And
I know that you're like sitting in
creeper.
embarrassment. I'm just like giddy. I'm like, that's adorable.
I mean, it was too much. And then I think I got creepy because he asked for my number and I said, I don't have my phone. Do you have a phone? And he said, no. So we were just both walking around without our phones, which was kind of cute because then he said, oh, that's why I like you. You don't have your phone on you. And I was like, yeah, I'm totally like disconnected from social media, which is not true. But yeah, so I didn't have his number. He didn't have my number. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go like write down my number and leave it on his doorstep. Creepy.
That's even cuter. That's not
Is
creepy.
It though? So I left it on his doorstep and then like 3 days passed and I walked by and I checked to see if my note was gone and it was gone. And I said, oh, he hasn't texted me. This is kind of weird. Maybe it flew away in the wind or maybe a bird came and picked up my number thinking it was a sandwich.
Or maybe some jerk cat. Sorry for cat lovers out there. Maybe a cat came up. It was a jerk in the middle of the night and like ate it or something.
Or maybe all the eligible men knew that my number was on this doorstep and they all rushed and were like fighting over it in the middle of the night.
Totally. And then they got in a big fight and then the paper got ripped. And so the numbers all became disparate little pieces. And they're like, shit, now none of us have her number.
That's exactly what happened. But I am such a worst case scenario person in LA because I just have low expectations of people that literally in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, he's married. I left my number there and now they got in a big fight and they're getting a divorce.
Your next screenplay is just unfolding in front of your eyes.
Totally normal expectations and thought process, like a thought process.
Processes.
Processes. But anyway, 3 days later, I saw him outside and I said, oh, can I have your number? And I shouldn't have said his name.
We can bleep it out.
If we get married, then, but I just said, can I get your number? And he said, oh, I have your number. You left it on my door.
And red flag.
I was like, why didn't you text me? I've just been thinking I've been a creepy person for 4 days, but I guess he was just hanging out and he had parents in town and he wanted to text me over the weekend. So,
Interesting. So has he since? Is this a very recent occurrence?
It is a very recent occurrence. I think we're hanging out on Saturday. Okay. But I think he is going to drop off some fresh avocados from his tree before then. So.
I mean, I was just going to say, I'm swooning because that's a great currency right there. It might be like low-hanging fruit for him, but that's just, I mean, avocados are A, delicious and B, really expensive. That's a very nice little gesture. I love it.
Yeah.
But I'm a little annoyed that he didn't text you right away and be like, hey, I have your number. I'm busy. Communication.
Yeah. Because that just made me feel I parked my car on his street because parking's really hard, LA. And I've been trying to not park on his street because I just can't be that creepy person. And now it's
you're not a creepy person, but now it's like complicated because you have to navigate around this person that was like a benign, innocuous neighbor now becomes a thing.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And he's seen me in the same t-shirt every day for 3 months. And I never cared. It's just when things change because I'm just sitting in my house writing music or writing something and I'm in my Tom Petty shirt or my shirt with a bunch of Miami fish on it.
Cute. Love it.
And I'll just walk around and like take my little alley walks and he's there. And I've never thought to myself, oh, he's seen me in this fish shirt 75 times. It's just, my neighbor. And now I'm like, I have to get dressed to go walk the alley.
No. Don't do that. You don't need to, Dia. And let me be the friend that's like, you don't need to. Your fish shirt was a magnet to, because it sounds so adorable and it's so authentic and so you. And you're already freaking gorgeous. Like,
oh my gosh, no,
I was.
It's
but like, own it. And you are enough as you are. And that's, I think, such a funny, ridiculous, annoying, entertaining part of like the whole dating dynamic or like the relationship it's like on a dime. It changes everything, right? The dynamic that was so comfortable and chill because it didn't matter. Now all of a sudden it becomes like a thing that becomes so fraught with like, oh, but am I unattractive now? Or what did you like? How can I continue this thing? And you're just like, I don't even know if I like you. I haven't had a full date with you yet or conversation. It's just, annoyingly entertaining. And well, when you're not living it, when you're living it, it's like torture. So my heart goes out to you.
Oh, thank you. Dating is very, very hard. It is.
Yeah. It's me. I too have been on and off the apps. Currently off because I'm just like, it got to be too much. It's such an ordeal. Like, not to crap on it like right out the gate, or like, there's a lot of fun elements to it that obviously there would be, like, otherwise why would we be on it? But like, I think at this point, at this juncture where we've had years upon years with many different dating apps at our disposal that like people have experienced from different angles and different timelines, it's exhausting. Like, there's fun parts, yes. It's very like dopamine providing, like, you know, getting a match, getting a heart, somebody like complimenting you. Those things can be really, really fun and cute and all that. And it can also like just be so mind numbing and discouraging and like,
absolutely. Like, if I have to tell one more person about how my day went or what book I'm reading right now or what song I like, I'm going to jump off a bridge.
I am so with you. This is why I deleted it. I was like, I can't do it anymore.
No,
I don't want to.
I've just been getting creative. I'm like, I've been rocking Toto's Africa all week, bro. What are you up to? Like, come on. Like, you know, but Minji, I'm like pretty big on like, let's just go out immediately. Because I don't know if you've had this experience, but sometimes I will chat it up with someone. You know, we're talking about their family and where they grew up and what they're, you know, what they do with their career and what they enjoy and yada, yada, yada. And you kind of picture, like, this guy was sending me photos of him. This was obviously a while back, but photos of like him and his family setting the table for the holidays. And I just thought, oh, this is so nice. And it was cute. And then we met up in person, and within 10 minutes, lovely human being, amazingly wonderful person, no chemistry, no vibe whatsoever. And it took 10 minutes of in-person time, you know, versus we had talked for like 2 weeks at that point via text.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how are you? I'm listening to Toto's Africa. Let's go to a bar and get a drink tomorrow. Maybe it comes off desperate, but I'm like, let's not waste each other's time, dude.
That's not desperate. I say at this juncture, and everyone's coming into the dating circle, this circus that has been existing and evolving like the blob for so many years. If I hope they can, it's just you're diving into a rushing river, okay? And so you're just gonna have to learn quickly. If you're new to it and it's off-putting, then like, oh, so be it. Like, literally, that's kind of the beautiful thing and the really sad thing about it is it's an endless river of people, right? So if it's awkward and it's just like, okay, whoa, like, I don't pin that as desperate. I pin that as considerate and efficient. Because why waste anyone's time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're assuming, which is, it's a valid assumption to think the other person on that side is also matching with various people and having various conversations, also lives a full and, you know, they have a full plate of life that they're living. I'm not going to assume they have like 8 jillion hours to randomly text for like 2+ weeks of no. I think all parties considered, in my opinion, there has to be a good amount of back and forth enough to establish you're not a crazy person, which is why we're like, I want to talk about like the red flags and just different experiences that we've had in order to assess where we're at in this insanity that we're living in still. And then also how to just navigate it better, because even if and I love that we're not only talking, because you started this out with the cutest story. I'm just like so tickled by it that you got asked on this very cute date.
I know. I'm going to let you know how it goes. I'm going to get my avocados today.
Please do. I will not text you during your date, even though I'm totally tempted to be like, how's it going? But I won't.
Well, there's one red flag. So this has nothing to do with anything that he's done. But the hard thing about dating somebody that you just approach and not on a dating app is, okay, so I'm turning 35 in a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, I said, hey, how old are you? He's 27.
Oh.
I would never, like, for example, if I got on Hinge, I think I put my dating range, if I'm 35, I usually go like 31 to 40 right now.
Yeah.
But if somebody was like a little outside of there, I might, be chill with it, but that's not what I'm aiming for. But
right.
I think, like, I could be wrong. Do not disinformation me, but I'm pretty sure that, like, aren't male brains not even fully formed at 20? Don't they fully form at 28, I think?
I don't know the science behind that, but I know there's a whole slew of women on TikTok who will argue that they never fully develop. But that's just like I had to say it. But like, I don't know that age actually. But that is a very good question of developmental anything like XYZ. Like,
Yeah.
I actually had a debate with a friend about how young he will go, because that's such a different paradigm, right? Of like straight males, cis hetero males on dating apps or dating in general or in life, and marrying people that are like 20 years younger, which I think is like, the more grown up I become, the grosser I think all that is. I'm like, they're a child. I look at someone under 25 right now, honestly, and I'm like, that's sick. If you're over 30, like, what business do you have talking to an infant? Like, that's not judging. I'm not judging anyone under 25. I'm saying the disparity of, like, usually I'm being very, I understand how I'm coming off. Don't care. Like, where you're at in life, the, again, development that you've gone through, life experiences, maturity. Maybe I'm just being too generous, but I think that the older we get and the bigger the gap gets, and the okayness that there is on that side and then how it is on our side is very interesting to me, and where the ick factor starts to play into it.
Yeah. And it's also like, oh man, I just totally lost my train of thought because my Google finally worked of when a brain fully develops.
Oh, got it. Okay.
The rational part of a teen's brain isn't fully developed until 25 or so.
Yeah.
But then it says men mature after women.
Yes.
Men's brains mature at age 43 compared to age 32 for women? That seems wrong. That seems very wrong. 43. This is on Medical Daily. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to get off Google because I had to check that.
We'll look into it later and we'll regroup at a later time. Yeah. Well, there's going to be so many. Like, is that a peer-reviewed article? I mean, which is fair.
I know. But no, there is a great disparity with age. And you know what I think about is not only, when I think about a 25-year-old human, think about yourself. When I was 25, I was a completely different person than I am now on every level.
Yep.
So to think about somebody dating me at 25 versus now is just, you're dating a different human.
Is the fact that he's under 28 the red flag?
It is a huge red flag, but it's nothing like, there's nothing he can do about it, obviously. And there's nothing I can do about it except like stock up on retinol cream. So, I'm kind of just, I don't know what to do. And he said, does that freak you out? And I said, no, but maybe it should freak you out. Like, do you want to think about this? Like, you don't have to we don't have to hang out. I totally understand if you don't feel comfortable. I think I'm quite a bit older than you. And he said, no, it doesn't bother me at all. So I'm getting avocados today. Okay, Minji, I'm getting avocados.
Yes, you enjoy your avocados. And I'll say that this is like, there's a different generational thing that's happening here. I mean, he's not like, well, kind of a different generation. Like, he's 8 years younger than you, right? I'm like, I'm doing math all of a sudden. He's 8 years younger than you. There is a difference, right? That's like a whole high school and college, right? Chunk of years in between. And I totally relate with that. And it becomes less of a thing, if you're both of you are over 30, say that he's like 30 and you're 38, even like that can feel, again, depending on your cultural normalization, that'll feel different depending on who you are.
But I'll also say that these younger guys lately, holy crap. And also because 30 plus women are freaking stunningly gorgeous and mature and like handling our lives and like not what it used to be. And I can totally see the appeal. I'm just saying. And also thank you, Priyanka Chopra, who like, she's like, I don't care. Like Nick Jonas is my man. And I don't care if he's 10 years plus my junior. She's like, I'm a cougar and I don't give. Yes, live, slay, Priyanka. She got hers. And it's like, it's created this different dynamic where younger guys are like bolder. I'll say on my Hinge, I got a bunch of younger dudes who hearted my thing. And I'm honest about my age. Some people lie about that, right? Which I think is, again, different red flag when you find out that they lied about their age on a dating app.
Very big flag.
Big red flag, which has happened to me. And then, I just think they're emboldened. And yes, there's definitely the question of the developmental thing and like all those things to take in consideration. And it depends, like, are you there for a good time or a long time? But it's
such
very
a double
different
standard with men. It's you know, guys date 20 years younger and it's not a big deal. But women, there are the few women that are kind of holding the fort that are saying it's okay. And it's just, it's such a huge double standard and it's just kind of, it's ridiculous. But there definitely is an age where it's just not okay. Like, you know, photos of Dane Cook and his girlfriend that looks like his grandchild is strange.
It's icky,
to say the least.
Also saw him on dating apps too early on because I just to clear, and I was like, is this really? And I think it was because, like, again, you can tell by the quality of the photos. Like, is this like somebody pulled this from Google or is this someone from someone's phone? You know, like there's ways to assess those things, which is also another red flag because there's so many bots and catfishers out there. How can you tell if somebody is a real person? Which I think on both sides, people get so wary of, which I think is a very good question to ask. How can you tell if this person's actually who they are and the age that they say they are? There's a lot of that like, the way that they chat with you or do or don't want to meet up with you can be a huge red flag too.
Yes. And you know, it's been interesting though to see red flags, but I've had this issue of, I was talking to my sister Meg about this recently. And I told her sometimes I see red flags or I know that I'm not connecting with someone, but there's a piece of me that just wants to connect so badly. And I don't know if it's the desperation of coming off of 8 bad dates and this is the 9th date and I just really want this to work, you know, like where, and it kind of depends on where you're going with your life because if let's say I booked a job and I'm out touring and doing some music, then I don't even care about dating apps. But if I'm just sitting at home and date number 10 and all of it has been bad, then I just want so badly to connect and I ignore red flags.
Totally understandable. That's why I think like when all these conversations happen and my TikTok is like flooded with relationship stuff coming at all these things from every angle. I think it's always like a nuance. Everything's with a grain of salt, highly entertaining no matter what. And it's always like in terms of being applicable to self, it's always grain of salt. Like you have to be like, well, it depends, right?
Yeah.
Not to excuse bad behavior. I think if anything prompts like danger, like that's where I think listening to your instincts is so important. There's a spectrum of red flags, I guess. Some of them be like bright, burning on fire red, and some of them are more like a orange or yellow. You know what I mean? Like pay attention to that, but it's not going to like put you in any sort of like physical, emotional, mental danger.
Yeah.
That's where that like has to be assessed and evaluated. But things depend on like where you're at in life, right? Like maybe you are just, I'm out touring and I'm going to be in XYZ city for a week and I'd love to go on a date to find someone to be a tour guide. Yeah. That's one thing. That's different than like, I've been on 14 bad dates and I really would just like to find my person and get the hell off this app. Those are very different circumstances in order to like vet people, right?
Absolutely.
And like how much you're going to hold against that person, said flag. It's like,
Do you have any tangible, like, I mean, there's red flags where I'm like, oh, that was kind of an interesting thing to say, you know, but are there any red flags that are very tangible things for you right off the bat. Like, for example, I do not like people that are late.
Yeah.
Another one is, I guess I'll tell you all of mine first.
Please do. Oh, yes.
Another one is when the guy picks a spot that is, this happens to me all the time, Minji. We'll pick a bar. He'll pick a bar, and I'll drive 45 minutes or whatever to Culver City to meet him, and then I realize that he lives literally down the street. It's just,
ew.
It's just, it happens every time. It's just so inconsiderate to pick somewhere like that,
no.
And I don't even mean like close to his house so you can go home with him. It's just like driving in traffic. There's very few men that say, hey, what neighborhood do you live in? I can come out to you. Or even this would be nice. Hey, what neighborhood do you live in? I can meet you in the middle. Like that rarely happens. It's always, oh yeah, here, like, let's go to this bar in Santa Monica or West Hollywood. They don't ask at all where I'm coming from or driving from,
Oh, that's terrible. That's definitely happened to me in the past. I don't know. Again, I've been through so many variations of my interactions with dating apps, and I can even dissect this by like the app or like the kind of people. I will say, I hope it's because I've become better to myself and therefore instinctually don't match with people. But I think the people that I've conversed with and like met up with and gone on dates with, vast majority of them recently have offered that. They've like,
really?
Like, hey, where do you live? Like, I'll come close to you. Like, I'll whatever. Yeah, I've actually lately, and because I think for me, I wouldn't tolerate that. Like, I would just be like, either, I don't know if I ghost, but like, just, it hasn't that lately, and it has happened in the past. And that is the experience of like, no, not doing that again. Because that says a lot about, in my opinion, people can have all their opinions on like gender norms and all that. It's just really rude. And I do think that we still live in a gender unequal society. And I personally like chivalry in that aspect of like, yeah, you're going to ask me out, then like come closer to me or at least halfway, the bare minimum. Well, I think that's absolutely a fact.
Yeah, I'm big on that too. I mean, I grew up in Utah, I'm definitely big on chivalry and gentlemen. And I have a lot of female friends that they actually get offended if somebody picks up the bill or something like that. And I am the complete opposite. I think both are fine. But I mean, I like the person to ask where I live, what's convenient for me. I like them to pick up the bill. They don't have to take me to Nobu Sushi. Like, we can go to a taco truck and like get cheap margaritas and tacos. I don't care. I just
it's
really
a consideration.
Right. But I swear, I don't know what I'm putting out, but I always end up driving across town for them. And I'd say they pick up the bill 30% of the time. 70% of the time we split it or I pick up the bill.
I think depending on perspective, splitting can be okay. Depending, again, other factors involved of like, did they come to you? Like if somebody came all the way to me, I'm totally down to offer like, oh, I can't even drink, but like if they want, I'll get you a drink. Thanks for coming out. I'll offer that. I won't be like, you have to buy me the drink, but usually I get shut down. Like, no, I got it. Like I'm treating, I'm like, thank you. That's again, recently. Before I'd be like, either I did cover the bill maybe once and then just didn't date that person again, but I also have split the bill. But we're going to manifest this for you, Dia, because no more. We're not doing that.
It's always silly though, because in my head, I'm like, okay, so they didn't pick up the bill and they didn't, come to a place in your neighborhood, but maybe they just don't think that way and they're like a really kind-hearted person. But at the same time, those things, even though they seem small and maybe petty, can lead to, other bigger things. Like just, is this person considerate of other people? Are they generous?
Right.
Things like that.
Conversely, are they entitled? Are they, there are people I've matched with people. I don't think I've met up with too many people or gone on dates with people that there are people that really just exist and they think that the world revolves around them. They're absolutely, I have gone on dates with people like that. They're not malicious, so it is harder to detect. And this is where I had like my oceans of insecurity to wave through, that I learned through all these like insane experiences of mine. They're not insane, but like all these very educational experiences and dates of like, you really just grew up thinking that like you don't have to do anything. You just show up and everybody starts praising you. And I've had that happen of a guy that I like, we dated, but we were not like a thing. That was another red flag of this guy, this one particular experience. Like we dated for like 3-4 months. It's a while back. And like, he just tall, handsome dude, not the most charismatic, but like has an aura about him. He attracts a lot of attention. He's really actually quiet and very shy, but people would just like, our waiters would be like, your boyfriend's so handsome. And I was like, first of all, he's not my boyfriend. B, you don't need, and he could hear him, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, don't feed this. This is gross. Like, stop. Like, everyone's like, oh, and he's like smiling. And that's the pretty privilege that absolutely 1000% exists. Yeah. But you could just tell there are people that show up and they don't think that they have to try. The world has not required them to do so. Period.
Yeah.
Like, they don't need to try.
That is so true. And it's, I mean, you almost can't blame them in a weird way. I dated somebody for a very short time that was like a full-time model. How I dated him, I don't know. But he was like this gorgeous Brazilian model. And that
you're
same
gorgeous. And why wouldn't you?
No. But I was just like, you know, his last girlfriend was just like a famous superstar. And I was just watching his life, and it was the same thing. I'm like, this guy has never had a problem. Nobody messes up his name at Starbucks, you know. It just doesn't happen for him. But those kinds of people you don't want, like, they're not going to be in your corner in the long run. They're not going to, like, love is such a kind of messy thing.
Yeah.
And you want somebody that, you know, like I was telling you, like my little sister's husband just got in a car accident, and it's just been, I mean, it's been really kind of beautiful to see how much they care about him. And my sister, you know, the doctor said, you know, go home and sleep. There's going to be a nurse next door all night. My sister slept at the hospital every single night for the last week. And it's just been, you know, it's been kind of, I mean, obviously the car accident was terrible, but watching them and their love and how they care about each other has just been so incredible. And I'm like, am I going to find that on a dating app?
You might. There are people that do, it's a rarity. I don't think it's like the most common thing. I think it's a lot of just like trial and error that happens with the dating, but all me being the optimist here, like being the storyteller, if you will. I think the narrative I build is that it has been educational, good, bad, and everything in between, teaches me what it is that I want. Therefore, it's valuable. And the more repetitive something is, the more it's only telling me that I haven't grown up, or like something's, or I'm tolerating, or we collectively as a human species are tolerating too much BS at this point. Like something needs to change. So in all, it's like, I think it's totally possible. Is it like the only way? Absolutely not. Your neighbor asked you out in a very cute way. But like you never know. It can totally happen. And I think the more that we are able to identify the flags, yellow, orange, red, I'm just like giving all the colors, and the green flags or the green light, like what constitutes, this actually feels really good, it feels healthy, and like let's move forward on it. Being able to discern that and then act on it, I think that's what helps get closer to whatever that target is, right? Of like a really healthy, nurturing relationship. And I'm just like, that's why I appreciate all of these, like on my TikTok is like people are being so much more vocal about it, which helps me learn from theirs and also examine my own trends and patterns of like, for me, I think I've definitely gone through my phase of being overly accommodating, like the red flags of like, if they're openly inconsiderate, or like for me, a big flag is like how the way that the conversations go, like you can tell, I think, again, I've had so many that it
I
tells
want to hear
you
all your red flags, all the tangible red flags. So the way the conversation is going.
Yeah, like how quickly they'll even respond and what their opening line is, you know, and then it's a clear indication of like what their vibe is or what they're after. Some of them send you an emoji right away of like sweating emoji and they're telling you you're hot. You're like, thank you for the compliment. You're clearly not, this is not, you're not, it's not, you're not setting this up for a relationship. This is, you're flirting and maybe that's what you're there for and that can be fine, right? But even just like from the get-go, the conversation can indicate like, what are your intentions, right? Or how seriously should I take you, right? Like, and then like if they're messaging you at like 2 a.m., either maybe like, okay, you can be gracious about it and maybe they're just a night owl, or maybe they're just like, you up? Like, can I come over? You know, and that's happened and like stuff like that. And like the frequency and like we were talking about earlier, like how quickly they'll go from conversation to meeting. Like the communication style, like there's people that will take, like they'll initiate conversation. I'll respond. And then like 4 days will go by without a response to that initial conversation, right? Without, hey, sorry, I was busy. Like we're just talking on a dating app. You don't owe me like an explanation. However, if you want this to go to a date, it's considerate to be like, hey, actually, I was really busy with work. Like, how are you doing? Whatever, right? Just an acknowledgement of like, I know that I kept you waiting for like 4 days a week or whatever. And just kind of glossing over that. That to me at this point is like a flag of like, how do you communicate? And how do you like take my time in consideration? You know?
Yeah, I think so too. You know what? One thing that I think about that is like kind of weirdly a green flag. And I told my sister this the other day, but sometimes if I'm talking to somebody and I'm just like, oh, you know what? Like, I'm just not getting like the vibe. And I can't really explain it beyond that. They're a nice person. They're very interesting, but I just don't feel compelled to continue.
Yeah.
So I've been trying really hard to work on not ghosting people and just communicating. So I will often say like, hey, I am really not feeling a romantic connection with you right now, so I don't want to waste your time, and I don't think it's a good idea to meet up. Or if we have met up, say I don't think it's a good idea to meet up again, but like I hope you find what you're looking for, blah, blah, blah. And I think the biggest green flag is I've gotten guys that have been like, cool, thanks for nothing, or like given me like a thumbs up emoji, like a wave hand. But then there's been some guys, like this one guy that I was chatting with for a little bit. He just said, oh, thank you so much for being upfront. Like I totally understand and I appreciate you. And I really hope that you find what you're looking for too. You seem like such a nice person. And I really would have liked to get to know you, but like, I wish you well. And then when I get that message, I'm like,
can we go out again?
I'm like, actually, wait, do you like, maybe we can go to cause it's such a nice thing. I dated this guy that I met on an app, and honestly, Minji, we maybe dated for the period of maybe like 2 to 3 weeks. And, you know, it wasn't every day. We just go to a movie or we go to dinner a few days later or whatever. So it felt very, very new to me. And I had picked up some red flags and I thought, okay, this is not my person. He's a cool person, but he's not my person. So I told him, I thought, you know, we would be better off friends. And holy smokes, did I dodge a bullet. I have texts, like novels and novels of texts. He told me to descend into hell.
What the? Oh, that's frightening.
Yeah. And he said, you know, I have so many other options here, but I chose you. And I know I'm a big catch. And like all this, he told me that how did he phrase it? He's sure that I'm not the person I hoped I would be as a child. Like,
what?
He just
problems.
Went off on me. And I sent it to my sisters, like screenshots of it. And they just they were like, who is this? This is crazy. And I mean, his red flags were kind of along these lines. For example, he sent me something that he wrote and he asked for feedback. And I gave him feedback that I felt was constructive and very honest. And definitely was not a pat on the back. It's amazing. It was definitely like, I would change this in the beginning. This part didn't make sense to me. I didn't get this. I would make it, and he just said that so many other people loved it, and
Wow.
he doesn't understand my notes at all. And like, this famous person's team liked it. And like, that was a red flag to me, because even if he didn't agree,
hell yeah,
it would have been like, oh, okay, thank you.
That's really immature and definitely didn't. It sounds like very Trumpy. Like someone didn't get proper feedback from their parents.
Yeah. It really was bizarre. And another red flag was his room was just not clean. I know that sounds so mom-ish, but
no,
I just did not feel comfortable in his room.
That's girlfriend. Like I cannot, if there's any, like to anybody out there, like your gut instincts, your spidey senses are your best friend. There's a reason why you feel anxiety about X, Y, or Z. You're assessing. We are creatures that are susceptible to danger at any point, right? If you're going in a car that's going 100 miles an hour down a freeway, you're going to feel scared because it's a dangerous situation. Your body's going to respond to that, right? And I think that there's so many situations that I look back and I'm like, why did I continue hanging out or talking with this person when clearly but like that can be so like seductive in its own way and exciting to like somebody who's naive and like ignorant, which is why the whole age thing makes me so icked out. It's like people take advantage of that, like their naiveness and like their innocence or like they're just ignorance, right? There are people who prey on that, and it makes sense because they just don't know better. But over time, through experience, like I think it's so important to listen to those cues of like, I feel uncomfortable. You're not trying to be an unpleasant person. You're not, and you don't owe this person anything. If you're in an environment, you're physically responding to something like there's something really strange here. I 1000%. It's a story that I don't care to share on air, but I've been in, thankfully only like in the dating universe from like apps and stuff, like only a couple times have been really, really, really uncomfortable. And that's why I think I became that much more hyper vigilant when it came to even like conversations. Ooh. What made me have like a red flag, i.e. the kind of photos that they have in their profile, their lack of like bio or anything when it's just blank. Like you could be either like a fake person or like you're not giving the other person on the other side of this app a chance to like know anything about you. How selfish and lazy are you, or lazy are you? Put something, like even if they're an attractive person, I will not swipe right. Even if I think there's something like attractive physically. Yeah. Absolutely not. Those are certain things that I was like, no, there's just not even worth. I'm not going to do more labor to like figure out if you're a sane person or not.
Yeah. And so it's weird. Like you said, it's sometimes these red flags are, it really is just a gut instinct. And I think sometimes that it's almost a subconscious thing. Like sometimes if you don't feel connected or comfortable around somebody, it has nothing to do with them. It's just, and sometimes I'll pick it out. I'll say, I don't really feel great about this person because he's a smoker. But in reality, it's usually something deeper than that. It's usually some other thing that he said or some vibe that he's giving off that is not going well with me.
Right. Right. And that's good that you're acknowledging that and you're giving that air to exist and not shutting it down. Because there's a lot of different consequences. The most benign one would be like, okay, I just have like a shitty date and like I wasted 2 hours of my life, or you know what I mean? Like I could have been watching a really good show or like eating a good meal or just like living my life peacefully instead of this. But conversely, like again, if you don't listen to those instincts, it could be way worse. And the statistically truth part of it is that women are way more susceptible to violence or like a really bad circumstance if they don't listen to those instincts, right?
I miss the nights when you showed me deeper, made me a believer, so I never leave.
Hi, I'm Shinyi Pai, host of the podcast Blue Suit. In a world full of stuff, what do we choose to hold on to? The Blue Suit is a podcast about commonplace objects and the people who transform them into something remarkable. From an inherited Chinese English dictionary to an old calophone playing records left behind by Japanese Americans incarcerated during World War II, our podcast showcases modern-day artifacts of Asian America and what gets elevated to heirloom status. Find it by searching for The Blue Suit wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, First of All fam, if you're a fan of the show and would like to support, consider backing us on Patreon. You can join our Discord community and get different perks by going to patreon.com/firstofallpodcast. If you'd like to support in other ways, you can go check out firstofallpod.com or subscribe and leave a 5-star rating on your favorite platform, or just follow me on Instagram because I love hearing from you. Thank you all so much for the support and enjoy the show.
Made me a believer, so I never leave you.
It's interesting. Well, like you're saying something earlier, but made me think that same person that I said like got so many compliments and all that stuff whenever we went out. I think the flag that I don't ever want to repeat was that we had matched before, and like I had ended up dating somebody else, and then like I got off the apps, and then we matched again. So then when we started dating, it was like the second time around that we had like rematched. I think first time was on Tinder, second time was on like Bumble or something.
Yeah.
So it was like a year later, and then so I was like, oh hey, and he remembered me. It was really sweet. He was easy to talk to and fun, and like asked me lots of questions, very sweet, and like offered to like come pick me up, which I actually turned down because I don't want everyone to know where I live right out the gate. That's it. So I was like, no, I'll meet you there. So that's I appreciate that they offer, but I also think it's great to just like offer a neutral location where we don't need to do all that.
Sure. Yeah.
The biggest flag that I learned from that relationship that I think would have prevented like getting too invested for too long was the fact that he was very different when we chatted via text and then in person. He was really, and he's a shy, introverted guy. I could tell that, but it seemed like two very different personalities. So
weird.
he was a really like, I generally, even like after the months that I spent with him, it didn't end the best, but like, I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think he's manipulative or like, I don't get that vibe from him. I think he had a lot of like stuff that he was working through with family and like the way he was raised and all this stuff. Still think he's like a good person. Also don't think the world has required him to do or try as much. I think I ruffled his feathers because I demanded more. But it was just such a stark difference, like online personality versus in person. We did talk in person. It was just such a different energy, if you will. Like it felt like he was way more open and like chatty and laughy via text than in person. He just got like really subdued. I was like,
yeah,
same person.
That's so. I mean, isn't that? I was just about to say that's so strange, but at the same time, in a world where we are constantly communicating on social media through, a smoke screen, in a sense, it's like we don't have to truly be who we are. And that, even if you look on my Instagram, that's only showcasing like the abs, like me on a mountain, like looking out into the sun, like really, like I'm in my fish shirt right now, like with a messy bun, like drinking out of a water container, just looking like a psychopath. But
equally adorable and lovable.
Thank you. I'm gonna get dressed for my avocado exchange, but it's people don't have to. And in a weird way, I think with the app, sometimes they don't actually have to go meet somebody. It is what you were speaking about, that dopamine hit of just having somebody say they're attractive and a little bit of banter. And then when it actually comes go time to meet this person and have some kind of deep connection, they are incapable or uninterested. And finding deep connection in Los Angeles, I mean, in general, it's hard, but I feel like in LA, it's really hard. And then with the apps, it's almost like too many options.
Yep. It's this endless like merry-go-round, right? And I think that creates this lack of urgency. I mean, like, yeah, I give that's why I think going into it, understanding the landscape and like what to be reasonable about expecting is important, because everybody that you are matching with, you can't guarantee, you can't assume like what matches they are or not getting. It's safe to assume that they have more than one and they are talking to more than just you, as you are, right? Like you're probably sifting through your options and like seeing which ones are worth entertaining, where that fits into your busy life or not busy life, whatever, and like matching. It's a whole hoopla of coordination and like chance and timing, right? Yeah. So I think it's fair to have that buffer, that like it's like you're just give that, it's a grace period kind of thing, like give that consideration to others. And it's not ridiculous to expect a certain level of communication or to require that level of communication to want to move forward to actually meet up with somebody. Yeah. And I think conversely, like I've definitely had a red flag where people, I think, again, depending on vibe, if people are overly excited about meeting too early, that's a big red flag for me. And I've definitely had that too. There's ones that are just like overtly sexual and like dick pics and stuff. Like, absolutely not. That's disgusting. Mm-hmm. And I've gone like, this actually happened earlier this year where for like a month, I chatted with this guy and like I was being a lot more open and I was enjoying Hinge. And like this guy was just like really, really excited to meet me. I appreciate some enthusiasm. He's just like, oh, I really like your personality is so great. I love the sound of your voice. That's a cool thing with Hinge. Mm-hmm. So he's very like specific with like his compliments, and I appreciated that because it showed a level of care. Yeah. And then it was just like it was very subtle, but he was just like too excited. Right? He was like, oh, and this, and like you're just that. And so like 1 would have been fine. 2 is like great, and then that's enough. It's not because I can't receive a compliment. It's like, you're like really, it's a little bit much, right?
Yeah.
And then
and now I'm kind of, as you're saying that, I completely agree. If somebody's super like, I mean, it kind of sounds like it's one thing to want to meet up quickly versus be super into you quickly.
Yeah.
And like what is going on there? And I wonder what is kind of like the thing behind that, like, because obviously getting complimented by somebody is great, but if it is coming on too strong, like what is the kind of like underlying thing that's kind of turning us off? Is it kind of like maybe this person is a little bit too much in a fantasy, like? Sometimes when people say things, I'm like, you don't know me, man.
Like, what do you like? It's a very. I cannot say. It's one. Thank you. That's a great way to put it. I love that. It's just it's a little like what's going on there, And I'll say from my experiences and from this one specific one, because we actually went on it, and I was feeling a little like, it's a little much. Like he offered to get an Uber to pick me up, and it's because I was like, oh, I would rather just meet you there. It was very gallant. Like I was like, oh, and I'd been on this whole thing. I was like, I really want someone who is wanting to date and like will treat me well, because I have a mommy tendency in like relationships, and like I end up, doing the whole like I foot the bill all the time kind of. Like I've done that. I've definitely done that in the past, and I was like, it'd be really nice if somebody was willing to like think ahead for me, be thoughtful, considerate, and action oriented to do that and offer that. I was like, okay, this is a bit much, but I appreciate it. I'm just going to go with it because I can still bounce, if I need to, because we're meeting at a restaurant, right? Mm-hmm. So I ended up going on the date, and we actually did. Long story short, there's quite like, he's a nice guy, really nice guy, kind person, sweet person, has definitely been through a lot, was going through a lot of drama. See, that's a huge red flag. And that's where I'm like, why? I was so kind of like, I was so not enamored. I was like in love, but I was just so like, oh, he's like such a sweetheart. He's pleasantly surprised me where I walked in going like, I don't know about this person. Maybe this is going to be like a quick dinner and we're just going to go home. Yeah. And the fact that we met and had this really awesome conversation, really interesting person. And I got kind of like surprised in a good way. When it came to that stuff, then like later on, because we went to dinner and then went to like ice cream after. At the ice cream was where like more of the drama stuff came out. And I was like, oh, and at that point it would have been wise for me to be like, all right, this dude's going through a lot. Like straight up, like divorced and like baby mom and stuff with not even ex-wife. It's just like with an ex. So that's another red flag for anybody. They're talking about their ex in the first date. It's usually, I would say 9.9 out of 10, not a good situation. I just don't think, especially if you're saying like, oh, I'm just going through so much and stuff like that, then probably not. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. It's just probably not a good time for them to be entertaining a relationship if that's what you're looking for, you know? And even if you're not looking for it, you're probably going to have to take on some of that drama. Like you're just inviting an extension of their drama into your universe.
Oh,
you know?
Absolutely. Like I mean, and also I'm the kind of person who, if somebody does have a child and they're hanging out with me, I would almost think like, man, you should be hanging out with your kid right now. how many days do you get to see this child? You know, I come from a divorced family. Like lots of kids grew up without a father figure. And it's always just, you know, do you want to spend the weekend with me or do you want to spend it with your kid? And obviously I want to spend it with you, but I kind of think you should spend it with your kid. And this reminds me, I went on a date on Hinge and the guy meets up for coffee. And on the first date, he tells me he has 2 kids. And I was kind of like, what? And then I went back on his Hinge profile to see if it said kids and it wasn't listed.
Yeah. See, that's the flag. If they're transparent about it up front, that's different.
Yeah, be transparent about it. I'm not opposed to dating somebody with children. There are a lot of factors in that situation. Like I would want to know, do they have a good relationship with the mother? What age are the kids? You know, it wouldn't be a hard pass, but it would definitely be a difficult decision, but one that you should be aware of at the beginning, you know?
Right. Absolutely. I think those are key. They're key important things. If, again, depending on the situation of like, are you meeting up just to like fool around? Because that happens all the time. And it's just a matter of transparency, right? If people are avoidant about talking, say that you are just a fool around and people don't want to have the conversation about testing results, willing to share those results because everything's digital now. Don't give me this response. Like, I don't know where it is. Bro, it was emailed to you. I know it was, or it was texted to you. Screenshot it. And like things like that, or just you can tell by so many different things about like avoidance. What are they? Are there questions that they are not, you know, answering or that they're not asking you before they just dive right in and being like, oh my God, we should do a weekend away together. I'm like, bro, I've known you for like 7 minutes. You know, like what are you saying? Those are huge, like calm down. And I think the dude that I was talking about with the drama, again, it's real stuff. I heard him out. I don't think he was making it up. I don't think it was a good time for him to be in a relationship. And I think my vibe, I don't think he was consciously, I think he wanted like a respite, like a break from the stuff that's going on to like, because being in a, you know, finding someone that's like cute and like you can cuddle with, is wonderful. And like a lot of people look for those distractions sometimes. Maybe they'll know that they're looking for a distraction, but they are, you know. And long story short, I'm really grateful that I went through that experience because I don't think there was too much at stake or anything. But we hung out a few times, and I did start to kind of like him. But long story short, my roommate got exposed to COVID, where he did get COVID again, Christopher. And I had a quarantine, so couldn't meet up with him. And then literally, and he was all, you know, all about me. And within 5 days of me having to quarantine, because that was the CDC recommended thing, within 5 days, hadn't heard from him a peep. Because usually it was like text blowing up my phone. How are you doing? Like, how's your day going? Da 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 da. Right?
Yeah.
First, I had an instinct because I know at this point I've been through this circus so many times. I was like, there's something like interesting that's happened, and I wasn't the one to go chase. So I was like, you know what? If you're not going to reach out, it's okay. Like we're both in the understanding that like this is not serious yet, even though it feels like it's at the very, very, very beginning stages of maybe becoming serious. Even though my alert was like, okay, he's a lot going on in his life, and like you don't feel 100% good about this, so I just let it lie. 5 days later, he texts me telling me he met somebody and they're going official. It's like within 5 days. Yeah. Within 5 days, where like 5 days earlier, it was like the Minji show, you know, or like
Yeah.
At the beginnings of the Minji, I don't know.
That's
And
the horrors
so
of dating apps. So it's like, oh, like I can't eat ice cream right now. Well, there's like 75 things I can like. It's like they instead of seeing where things could go with you, it's like, oh, I can't be alone for 5 days.
And honestly, this is where I've landed. I agree with that. And like where I've landed in life is like, if that is what happened, there was a part of me that was disappointed. The rest of me was like relieved because I was like, that's wow. Oh, and like it affirmed what my instinct was telling me. I was like, there's a lot going on in this person, which is why I had like anxiety around it, why I didn't want to move fast. And thank God that I listened to that. I was very measured. I was like, not as responsive, and I was living my life and not only fixating all my attention on this one person because I have a full life. But thank God, and it served me, and I'm like, okay, it's like me. It was like dodged a bullet, right?
Yeah.
Like, I
Imagine
didn't need to go that.
Yeah. Like imagine booking work and having to be in New York for a month dating that guy.
Exactly.
You know?
Like I say, you find what you're looking for. So honestly, and I don't wish ill on him. I was like, oh wow. To me, I actually at the end of the day just looked at it like a movie script. I was like, wow, that's a plot twist. And good luck. You know, like I really wished him the best. And I meant it. I was like, I am not what you're looking for because I'm not trying to be your Band-Aid. And that's okay. And I don't know what's going to happen with this person, but clearly you guys are going official that this other person, this other woman's on board with you 100%. And you guys will go down that path and learn your lessons and it will be what it will be. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But there you go. And so I kind of was just like, I definitely went through being annoyed and being like, oh, this is why and like all that. But there was a lot of my ego that was just like, this is so stupid. But then I was like, no, good on him. Maybe it is his like the love of his life. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Either way, it's not what would have been good for me.
Yeah. No, dating is it's hard to separate your ego from the reality.
Yeah.
Or just
absolutely.
Like, you know, we just aren't connecting.
Yeah.
Or dodged 100%. A bullet.
Yes. So I think we have so many different, I feel like I have 80 more things. I was like, we covered so little ground, but I do think we covered a good amount. Is there anything else that's like, I feel like I have so many that I can't even like pluck one out of the air. I just hope that this is helpful. Like I would have loved to have known. I mean, thankfully I didn't end up in any really like dangerous situations, but I definitely wasted a lot of time.
Yeah.
Time and energy and emotion.
But you know, it's I think it's good to be aware, and I hope that for anybody that listens to this, just know that if you're feeling something, it is real. And even if you think, like, I kind of go back and forth with like, am I being petty? Am I being high maintenance? Am I this or that? And the reality is it's just not a good fit. Because it was interesting. Somebody brought this up. I was really annoyed by this guy because his room was so messy and his car was so messy. And then my friend brought up, they said, hey, remember you used to date so-and-so? And I said, yeah. And they said, he was pretty messy. And I said, I don't remember him being messy. I just, I remember him being freaking awesome and like great. So it's just, you'll pick these things out that essentially your gut's telling you something else. Because was it the messiness or was it something else again? And of course, like nobody likes a messy space. Clean up your stuff if you're going to have company. But, it was just an interesting thing for my friend to bring up because I said, yeah, there have been some messy people in my past, especially dating touring musicians, but their mess didn't bother me because they were just so cool or I liked so many other great things about them. So sometimes it's just something else. But I think, I don't know. I think I was very lenient with people in my past. And I'm not saying that I like choose what happens. It's really just about connecting with somebody or not. But I think it's okay to be picky. And I don't know about you, but I'm at the point in my life where the next person that I call boyfriend that I'm in a serious relationship with, like I'm all in. So it's not just something where like, I hate when people say, we'll see where this goes. I mean, we'll see where this goes, but can we both be headed on the same highway in the same direction? Yeah. Like, I'm totally fine if we see where this goes, but like, let's be going down the same path.
Yep, I agree. I think that's a flag of, I don't know what color, depending on where you are at in life. I think that's why having some level of clarity of what you're looking for. Again, like if it's like, there have been times where I'm like, I'm just looking for a good time. I just want someone to hang out with today. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and then there's a whole even set of standards in that arena. And if it's not, but if you're looking for something that's, you know, supposed to become something substantial potentially, then that's totally okay. I don't think that's being picky. That's having standards. That's having safety requirements for your heart, which is your heart and your time, which are so precious. It's the most precious thing, you know? And if somebody's not out there to respect that, then you know what? Then find somebody. Again, I'm very like, if you're looking for X, like go find, there's somebody out there who wants to give you that. There's somebody who does not, who is down for a no strings attached situation. I am not she, right? Like, then leave me alone. Like, go away.
I feel you. Okay, I'm going to play a little game with you.
Okay.
This is, I'm going to, you can be hypothetically me.
Okay.
I can see how I should behave. Is this a red flag to you? Hi, Minji. I am financially struggling right now, but I have a decently stable job and I'm hoping to, you know, make some more money. But yeah, I'm kind of struggling right now at the moment.
Interesting. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you looking for something serious right now? Is that like what you're looking for on this app at this moment?
I work at a bar and I make pretty good money, but I just I am having a tough time. But I'm actually like pretty happy because money isn't, you know, happiness. So yeah, how do you feel about that?
I appreciate how honest you're being with me. That's honestly really, I genuinely appreciate that. And I don't know, personally for me, I'm more looking for someone kind of serious that I could settle down with. I think finances are really important. It is for me to feel secure and stable. So maybe right now is not the best time for you and me to date. I think you're great. Maybe we can revisit that later if I'm still single. I don't really feel comfortable.
I'm going to copy that and like learn how to lip sync and just say that, because I've been thinking like this sounds, I feel bad when I don't want to date somebody because they're financially unstable. But it was interesting. I asked my friend about this earlier and he said that I think he's 34. But he said, I don't feel bad about wanting to date a financially stable woman because I've just gotten to the point in my life where I just bought a house. I finally paid off my car. I've been working. He said for the last 10 years, he's been, you know, like struggling so much with money, and he's just been careful and saving and working. And he's gotten to the point where he wants someone to meet him on his level. And he said that if he dates somebody with financial instability, it's going to make him feel like he's reliving the last 10 years of his life that he tried to crawl out of.
Wow. Yeah.
Which was really well said.
That is very well said. And I will say, like, I do think that there's that different nuance too of when we say that the bar is in hell when it comes to dating, it's like historically and in a lot of circles, not everyone, and there's going to be like, not all men, a lot have required feel entitled, have the audacity to require certain things out of women. We're talking about cis hetero relationships historically, maybe specifically millennial generation and older. But like the audacity to like want things that you yourself don't provide is absurdly imbalanced, I'd say, more on the male side. And women have, including myself, I'm not saying all women, but a lot of women have like foolishly accommodated that. And I think this demand for equality or reciprocity or like mutual respect or having standards on both ends feels like such an offense because it has not been required yet or until recently, which is the big study that at least in social media everyone's talking about, which is the rise in single lonely men. because women are abstaining from dating because their standards have been raised and men don't meet them, a lot of them. It's like having basic communication skills and having, stability and being emotionally intelligent is too much to ask. And there's more women that are like, I'd rather be alone. There's an exhaustion. Again, this intolerance of like, I can't do all the heavy lifting here. If you're not going to be willing to meet me halfway, I don't know what you want from me. You want me to like take care of my body, my mind, my heart, my soul, my brain, and you won't do the same. Like, what? You know what I mean? So I think that it's this shift, and it's uncomfortable because I think that transition is so real. Like all these different things that everyone is kind of let slide be swept under the rug, right? And I'm totally guilty of that myself. And it's taken me therapy and like mirror work and loving myself to like make the headway that I have. To just be like, no, and not to do it. I've worked hard to not punish somebody. I also don't need to like tolerate it. You know what I mean? Like there's the fine balance of like, I'm not going to harpoon you for it. I'm also not going to be like, yeah, I'll marry you. And you can be a complete, life draining, person in my life. I'm not going to just be okay with that just because I'm not going to like, you want me to lower my standards? Like, no.
Yeah. So, and also people are just different. Like one of my really close friends, has a very chill job and they don't care. Like they don't care about like being able to fly across America or like go on a trip to, I don't know, Tulum or whatever. Like they're just so happy with the simple things. And that's something I actually wish I could do. But I'm always like, I want money to travel. I want money to, well, that's kind of like my couple's goal is having enough money to travel with my partner all over the world and do it comfortably. Like I've done the traveling in my 20s where I'm sleeping on floors in hostels and, it's too expensive to take a cab. So I walk 16 miles.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't really want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And
that's okay.
It's just such a weird way to navigate, but financial stability is always strange. And I mean, even going back to my neighbor, my expectations of his financial stability at 27, I'm in such a different financial place than I was 8 years ago. Right. I have savings account now. I opened a Roth IRA. I became an adult. Like,
good for you.
I didn't know what a Roth IRA was until 2 days ago. My sister Meg was always talking about them, and I underheard her, and I thought she said Roth areolas. I was like, what are they? This is like a body part.
Oh, no. Wow, there's a Instagram series there. There's a hashtag right there.
I know. But you know what a green flag is? Speaking of, you just mentioned therapy. If a guy says he's in therapy, that is a green flag waving in the wind.
Absolutely. I'm really appreciative. I'm very attracted to people that are growth-minded, and it doesn't always – I think therapy is great. Just an openness to it instead of like, when people shut it down or like they're very adverse to like, oh, that stuff or in any way insinuate that. I've
never needed therapy.
For me, red flag. It was like, no. And thankfully, I haven't encountered too many people like that ever because I think like my radar, at least even in the chat, I'm like, I'm not even going there. So yeah, I think that's a great green flag to be growth. Like when people ask like, oh, are you reading anything? Like reading is a green flag to me.
Reading is so attractive.
It's very attractive. And like having something that you care about besides just money, at least for me as a green flag, like I had to this is what I learned through experience. Like I do like people who have ambition, but for me, the way that I exist in the world, I'm not only interested in money only, like I would love to build wealth. And I also I'm very like purpose oriented. So I want somebody that like cares about not just being successful in this like archaic, stereotypical way of like having a ton of money. I think traveling is amazing, but like also, do you have something bigger that you want to contribute to? Do you want to help alleviate hunger? What do you want? Like, do you care about anything besides just like getting the nice car, like keeping up with the Joneses? Like, great. That's amazing. Like, and if you're good at that, good on you. I'm not going to knock you for that. But to me, it's not a red flag, but a green flag is like somebody who's like, who has empathy for humanity, for the climate, for anything, animals. I don't know, like something that's like not just I look really good in my new car. Like, cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Just passion and empathy for people and for life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like super attracted lately. And I don't know if it's just because I'm in my mid 30s now, is like guys who are super family oriented or like talk about their family in a really beautiful way. Like talk about their sisters or talk about their parents or their parents' relationship or wanting kids, or, you know, if a guy's like, I just spent the weekend at my little nephew's birthday party. I'm like, oh my gosh, tell me more.
That is very, very cute. 100% green flag.
Yeah, I'm just
It's
like they
great.
care about their family and they have a community and they have connection with people that they love. And it's, you know, things like that are so special.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that we're ending on like green flags, because there are those things. And that's why I think for me, the intention with like sharing the red flags is like a warning sign, because people, here's also the thing I've learned is like people learn through experience. And so I cannot rescue everybody or like save them from like their bad mistakes or anything like that. Mistakes also have their value too. I think repeat offenses, just coming from my experience of like, there's so many red flags that I look back and I was like, I just kept bypassing them. I just kept going. I just kept like, okay, well,
yeah,
we'll see. I'm like, no, honey. And so I'm glad that I'm a place where I'm like, I don't need to repeat it. If you got to experience it to learn, that's totally fair. The more you repeat it, I just feel like it becomes like a drain of like not only time and energy, but like your spirit diminishes. You know, your belief in love can really die because you're just constantly like
lowering your frequency.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love that. Well said.
And then you start attracting more and more of those types of people. And ultimately, like, you let people treat you how, what's that perks of being a wallflower? You accept the love you think you deserve. I mean, yeah. Ultimately, that is what it is. And I was talking to my friend the other day who's been on the app game, and I told her, you know, I went to this bar and then the bill was like over $100, and it was just really unexpected. I didn't know it was so expensive. And she said, you paid for the bill? And I said, yeah. And she said, I never pay for the bill. And she said, I just won't. Like if a guy takes me out, he's taking me to dinner. He's not taking me to some drink, and like he's taking me to dinner. He's picking up the bill. And he's going to like treat me like a lady. And I was like, oh, you know, yeah, there is that kind of, and she wasn't saying it in like a prissy high mate. Like it was just a standing in your worth. And she's an amazing person. And there was just something it was attractive to hear from her. I was like, oh, whoa. Okay, if I, as your friend, like I'm gonna pick you up and take you to tacos as well. Like it just, exactly, you know,
let me take you out.
Yeah, it wasn't too much. It was just like, hey, I'm a great person. If you want to spend time with me, like take me out, show me a little bit of, you know, time spent into this evening, and I will do the same for you.
Yeah. That effort and that care goes such a long way. And there's that whole saying that floats around now, like if he wanted to, he would, right? And there's like motivation involved in that. And it's like, fine, if you want to be completely non-committal and non-effort, there's somebody out there who's going to be okay with that. Me personally as Minji, I don't want a girl to be okay with that, but I am not her. You know what I mean? Like, and that took me years and years and years and years to be like, I think I'm worth putting some attention to and care in. You know, I'm a great conversationalist. I'm an amazing person. I do good in this world. I put effort into keeping myself healthy and, you know, as attractive as I can be, to be confident in my skin. That takes a lot of effort and care on my part for myself to do that. To want somebody to reciprocate that or to match that, that's not a big ask. I do that, you know? And I think people who can stand in that, like exactly what you said, you'll attract that. And that's a really beautiful thing. And like, it takes practice. It takes a lot of that inner work that it's called inner work because it's work, girl. Like it's so much care and effort and habit and practice that you have to cultivate through like stuff that you don't like drinking your freaking water and exercising and meditating and whatever it is, right? Like cutting out toxic, it's not easy. It takes work, but the like results of that is that you have more respect for yourself. You're able to discern, not only identify it, but like not allow yourself to be gaslit or like be called dramatic or like you're high maintenance when you're just wanting like some basic respect and courtesy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can differentiate that and then stand in that and be like, no, I disagree with that. Respectfully, no, or disrespect, whatever it calls for. Be like, that's not how this goes in my universe. Like you take care. You don't even have to be belligerent about it because safety is a big thing. And when you make there are crazy men out there, crazy people who will. That's why I try not to even give my number away too quickly. Learning that. If they want to get into my Instagram, they're asking for Snap. Sorry, the last minute red flag Snap. Asking for Snap. A, I'm not 12. And like, B, like, what is the purpose of Snap? It's to like send nudes and like send stupid shit that you want to disappear.
It's not 2004. Like,
it's
what
not.
are we doing?
Yeah. It's like, so things like that. I just, being aware of that to be able to have worked on the self-love part to show up so that I can be a healthy participant in whatever's going to go forward. Like, that's hopefully what I want to encourage people to, because that's the counterpart of like how to really avoid the red flags is to have self-love. It's to have a level of self-worth and confidence to be able to say no. Yeah. Or like, no, thank you. Right. Like it's not to be.
Yeah. And sometimes it's practice. Like it has been practice for me literally to say, hey, actually, Santa Monica is really far from me. Do you mind if we meet in North Hollywood? Like that took so much for me to ask that. And I don't know if it's my Korean side that's like, don't ask anybody to do anything, but
I'm sure it is.
That's hard for me to say, which I'm not asking for anything crazy, but it's been, when I send a text like that, I'm like, oh, it's so weird. Like, but I mean, now at this point, I'm kind of like, if you pick somewhere in Santa Monica, I'm going to just not go at all.
Good for you, Dia. Good. I'm so happy to hear that. And I'm glad that you're sitting in that discomfort to know your worth and to ask for what you want. That is so important. I am here for it. I will I will gas you up to no end for that. Cause I think that is something that will attract a great guy. Honestly, they'll be like, oh, she's a cool chick. She knows she's gorgeous and talented. And like, I will absolutely meet her halfway or more. Like I'll go out of my way for her because she's wonderful. And yes, queen. I'm just saying facts. That's all. I'm not saying anything.
I'm going to listen to this before I go out on my next adventure. I call them adventures now, everyone should call dates adventures.
And hopefully, words have power. We can say adventures. Like we'll hopefully say it's like a fun adventure so that it doesn't turn.
Yeah, is it going to be like Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones, or is it
exactly
or the jungle?
Exactly. Those are very different adventures.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. I'm so glad we got to talk about this. I feel like we have not scratched the surface. I think we got a good amount of stuff out there, but there's always more to uncover. And I'm really excited for the next adventure you go on. I will 1000% be texting you to follow up.
Yes, I will let you know.
Thank you.
Good luck, everyone.
Seriously, good luck. Last thing that I asked for all my guests lately is 3 lightning round questions. Are you ready and willing and available to answer these?
Yep. Is this where I just answer as quickly as possible?
Yeah, whatever's top of mind.
Okay.
First question. Dia, what are you grateful for?
My family.
I love it. I love your family. 2, what are you looking forward to?
Honestly, spending time with my family.
Good. Yay. That's awesome. I hope you have a great time. And last but not least, what would you like to leave our audience with today?
I would like to leave the audience with whatever you're scared to do or start, whether it's write a poem or write a song or write a screenplay or just join the soccer team or start karate. Like, just do it, because I've been finding in my own work that the second that I actually put pen to paper or start on the path, like things start to work. And I just have so much trust in once you begin the process, things start to kind of align for you. And I think I sent you this quote the other day, but the work you do works on you. Like once you begin, I have so much trust that I don't know if it's a spiritual thing where the universe is like, oh, they're starting the thing. Like everybody get to square one, it feels like that sometimes. So whatever you're hesitant to start or procrastinating, just do it because you can do it. And things will start to line up to push you along once you tell the universe that, like, you're doing it. Get in line.
Yes. So great. Well said and perfect advice and a great way to close out today. Thank you, Dia. I love you so much.
you.
And I'm so
Love you
glad we got
too.
to chat about this. This was honestly so helpful.
Good.
Okay, well, I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day and date and enjoy your avocados.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in for this week's episode of First of All with Dia Frampton, talking about red flags in dating. Dia, I got to follow up with you. I want to know how everything went with the avocados, with the neighbor guy. I'm going to get the tea. But in the meantime, you guys need to follow along with Dia's journey and her music and her art. She is an emerging screenwriter. She's an actor. So much cool stuff that she's creating. So please go check it out. On Instagram, it's at Dia Frampton. All the links will be in the description. And yeah, stay tuned for more adventures. Thank you to Marvin Yue, my audio engineer and producer. Thank you to Priska, my current producer, helping me close out season 3. Thank you to Juliana Deer, my social media manager. I love you guys so much. Thank you for helping me keep the show going. And thank you to my Patreon family. You guys are amazing. Thank you for keeping the microphone on. If you'd like to support the podcast, please go to firstofallpod.com and you can find all the links to how you can support the channel. And you can follow along at First of All Pod or Minji on Instagram. Love to see you there. If you have any questions, any comments, any stories you want to share, email me at firstofallpod@gmail.com. You can find First of All Podcasts on all the podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Radio Public, Spotify, everywhere. And yeah, if you want to share, please do share with a friend. The more we know in Shooting Star. If you enjoyed the episode, please do leave a 5-star review. Helps all the other folks out there find the podcast easier. It means a lot to me. And yeah, this week's intro music was provided by Uzuhan with the song Uzutrap. And the outro this week is a really, really beautiful new artist that I discovered. Her name is Simone Cardoso, and her song Home to Me is our outro. If you guys want to know or listen to all the different songs that are featured on First of All, you can find it on Spotify and First of All podcast playlist. And yeah, that's it for me this week. Have an amazing day, a great day, not just a good day. And take care of yourselves. Be good to yourself, and I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.